let's see. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to get it to attendees can chat with everyone. Fixed. Try that now, guys. See if it works in the chat if you guys want to drop in there. Yay! Awesome. Woo! Okay, we did it. Look at us go, beating technology. What? Gatorade Zero, Diet Dr. Pepper, Jocko Fuel with electrolytes, iced tea, Doc Pop. Oh, Poppy. I love that you're drinking that. So somebody recommended it to me the other day because I'm a big Olipop fan. If anybody's familiar with Olipop, huge Olipop fan. I love their ginger ale one. It's my absolute favorite. Every time we go to the grocery store, I buy like 17 of them because they're so good. But I want to try the Poppy. Everyone says it's really good. Travis says Polar Seltzer, love that. Infused lemon, strawberry, and cucumber water. That sounds incredible. Holy moly. Water with Crystal Light. I love it. Heather, you and I are one and the same, basically, with Drip Drop. It's kind of the same. Only less sugar. Really, that's the only difference. Seltzer water. Can I make you co-host, Tiff? Yes. I sure can. All right, guys, we're gonna wait just like one more minute. We're seeing the numbers coming in here, so I want to make sure everybody has enough time to join us. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my screen share going because we're gonna start and just get right into this bad boy. I want to make sure we have as much time together as possible. Let's get my present screen going. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get my screen share going. Jamie says water with true lemonade mix. I love it. Raz lemonade crystal light. That's a good one. I'm drinking the cherry drip drop. It's actually really good. I'm not always the biggest cherry fan, but I'm a cherry fan in this one. Okay, awesome. All right, guys, I think we should go ahead and kick this bad boy off. If everybody else, somebody says, is it bourbon 30 yet? My husband would say yes, Bill. My husband is a diehard bourbon guy. That's the only thing he drinks. So my husband would definitely say yes to your question without a doubt. Cola Zero. Love it, Mike. Awesome. Well, I am so stoked to be able to be here and to do this with you. I don't know if any of you guys know of me, Michelle Verma Michael, but I have been working with the mortgage industry for quite some time. And we just officially launched our strategic partnership with NAM last December. So it was a long time coming, and I am so honored that Valerie chose me as somebody to be able to come support you guys. I will say, I am a very open book when it comes to my thoughts and my feelings about all the things related to what we're doing. So what I mean by that and why I say all that to you guys is I understand that social media can sometimes be something that can give people bad taste in their mouth, right? Like, oh, another social media coach, here we go. But I really, really want to be very different for you guys. And I want you guys to not just hear me say that, but I actually want you guys to experience it with me. Because Tiffany, my COO, and I, we have worked really hard to make sure we can change the temperature of the conversation in this industry and make Instagram, and specifically prospecting on Instagram, a really tangible thing that people see real results from and feel like they can actually do. I am not going to be the one that's going to teach you about virality. I don't really care, honestly. I'm not going to teach you about how to have the most crisp, perfect possible video. Because at the end of the day, that's not really what matters. I'm definitely not going to be the one to teach you how to get more followers tomorrow, because at the end of the day, that's also not what matters, right? If you guys don't get a single additional new follower for the entire rest of the year of 2024, you will do more business in 2024 if you follow what I'm going to teach you guys today. So I think that the general consensus is that people think that they need more, right? I need more followers. I need better video. I need more video. I need more of this or that. And the reality is you don't. Robert says, what you're teaching, Michelle, can I easily transfer it to Facebook? Yes, Robert, you in the right place. Please hang out with me. Tiff just answered that question for me. But yes, so long story short, guys, every single one of you guys here understand that prospecting in your business is a non-negotiable, right? That we all get that. We all understand that in order to grow our business, we have to prospect. If we don't prospect, or we don't touch base with people in our database, how are we going to be able to grow, right? So Lisa says, no, we need more conversations and relationships. Amen, sister, because ain't that the truth. So I'm really excited for you guys to be here again. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with me, my name is Michelle Berman Michael, and I'm stoked to be here. There is going to be some details about how you guys can get connected with me, but I want to open up with just a really awesome testimonial from one of our amazing clients. You guys might know him, but his name is Wade Betts. He's an incredible client of ours. He's actually one of our longest standing VIP clients ever. He's been with us for almost 2 years. So he came to one of my private events, not this past October, but the October before that. And he has been in my organization for a long time. So Wade is an incredible human. We are so honored that he has chosen us for such a long time. And he's really become family to us. And that's important to me. That's important to Tiffany. As the leaders of this ship, if you will, our relationships with you guys mean the world. So when someone becomes a client with us, it's not just a transaction. And I know that that's a very cliche statement, but every single client to us is everything, because your success is our success. So if we can't help you win, then we don't win. So it's really important to us that you guys feel that from us. So there's a lot of authenticity built into what we do and what we say, and really just how we act every single day. So that's an important sentiment to make sure we start out with. But Wade is incredible. If you're not connected to him on social, I encourage you go look him up. Winning with Wade is his Instagram handle. Reach out to him about us, ask him about us, all the things. Wade will give you his honest opinion, and I can tell you it's a good one, thankfully, right? For so many years. Now, before we dig into the details of all of the things, I want to make sure that we're connected. So I want you guys to go ahead and open up your phones. Go find me on Instagram if we're not already connected. My Instagram handle is right there. You'll also see that QR code. So if you have your phone, you can scan it. It'll take you right to my Instagram. And what I want you guys to do is DM me the word 1990. So, or the numbers 1990, I should say, not the word. But that is actually the year I was born. But I want to know, if you DM me that number, I'll know that you're here with me right now today. So I just want to say hi to you afterwards. I want to be able to connect after we get off of this, and just make sure that I can touch base with you one-to-one. I do answer every single one of my messages myself personally. So it's really important that we have the time to connect outside of this, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be teaching you so much. So you guys are going to have questions, and that's a good thing. So I want to make sure that we're connected there to be able to do that. So 1990, DM me that. I'll know that you're here with me right now watching me. Feel free to post in the stories on Drew. Do that on Instagram, not in the chat box. Drew just commented 1990 in the chat box, and guys, just do that on Instagram, not on here, just so I know. But again, everything that you guys are going to learn here right now is designed to be super, super tangible. So I want to make sure that you guys have the ability to execute right out of the gate. And I also want to make sure that you have access to me with questions and all the things, if you have them, which I'm sure you will. All right. So for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with who I am, again, my name is Michelle Berman Michael. I have just a lot of background in the Instagram space, I guess, is a good way of starting this off. But I am a self-made entrepreneur. I actually quit corporate America at 24. I walked into my boss's office and quit on the spot and just said, there's got to be a better way to treat clients and a better way to do this where their client's voice is heard and felt and they feel seen. And so insert Berman Media PD, launching officially in November of 2014. So we are on year 10. And I'm super excited about the fact that we're in year 10. It's kind of wild because I don't feel like it's been that long. Some days it feels brand new, but really it has been 10 years. Crazy. I am a former influencer on the Instagram platform. And what that means is not that I was paid to stand and hold something pretty. I was actually very different than that. What I did was I actually bought and sold Instagram accounts and flipped them like you would flip real estate. And in the process, my job was really to understand what actually makes people convert on the platform. Meaning when somebody was trying to sell a product, how could we put that product, or what kind of ad could we create? What kind of copy could we write that would be put out that would ultimately create conversion? So that's what I did. I really, really studied the crap out of it. I essentially became a broker between the big brands and the Instagram pages. And I designed a process of how to get someone from, hey, I'm consuming, to, hey, I'm buying, right? That process, or the line from one to the other. So long story short, I spent about 5 years studying human psychology and sales psychology and how the two of those things merged. And that is how Beyond the Method and this process that I'm going to be teaching you was born. Beyond the Method, the course itself, was born in 2019. So I had put everything from the years prior into a full big giant program. Teresa, the number to DM again is 1990, and is the year I was born. So that is sort of the backstory to that. I am a very high DI on the disc profile. If you guys are familiar with the disc profile, I feel like everybody is by now, right? So all that means, or why I say that, I should say, is I talk really fast. And I have a lot of energy, if you will. So sometimes when I talk too fast, it's hard for people to keep up with me. So I apologize in advance for that. But I will say my COO, as well as my executive assistant, they are both in the chat box. So they will be able to answer all of the questions if I don't get to them. Now, on the personal side, I am a wife. My husband is actually prior military and is now a civilian contractor and strength and conditioning coach for the guys going into Ranger Regiment and selection. So if you guys are familiar with all of that, that's my husband now. We are actually here in Clarksville, Tennessee. He was stationed here at Fort Campbell, and we actually are so grateful to be back here. Coming from Fort Polk up here to Fort Campbell was exactly what our lives needed. So we're very grateful to be up here. I am a mama. I have a 2.5-year-old. You can see my cutie on the screen there with me. His name is Knox. He is everything. He is actually downstairs asleep. So I have my monitor up here with me. So shout out to all the parents that are doing the darn thing at the same time. I am a retired competitive CrossFitter, so I actually competed for 6+ years before retiring. And Tiffany, my COO, her wife, and I actually way back in the day used to compete together. I do CrossFit still now. I CrossFit 2 or 3 days a week. And it's awesome to be able to do that. But I am transitioning a little bit of my life into being a runner. So I just ran my very first half marathon on Saturday last week. So shout out to all the runners out here. It was no small feat. The fact that I actually physically completed 13.1 miles blew my mind, but it was amazing. This was the very first run I've done where I was the one running versus my husband. So my husband is actually an ultra marathon runner and a road marathon runner. So normally Knox and I are on the sidelines cheering on daddy. And this was the first time that Knox was actually cheering on mommy with daddy on the sidelines. So I just posted a video about that actually on Instagram earlier this afternoon. Now, as far as work is considered or concerned, I should say, we have students and clients in 47 states and 3 countries. We have a ginormous Facebook group, all things value, tons and tons of live videos and tons of trainings and all kinds of things in there. So towards the end of this, you guys will be able to jump in the Facebook group, and then Lonnie will be checking in with all of you guys to make sure that you guys can get into the Facebook group if you choose to. I have taught and trained well over 5,000 agents across the country and growing, right? That's the awesome part of this. So, and as far as podcasts, and all my podcast lovers out here, I'm a diehard podcast person. I listen to them every single day. And I myself personally have been on well over 100, both on the mortgage and the real estate side. So feel free to just Google me, go on YouTube and type my name in, it'll all pop up. But all my Phil Treadwell fans in here, if anybody is, Phil Treadwell was actually the very first podcast I was ever on back in 2019. Phil Treadwell and I are very good friends still to this day. We actually just talked last Friday, and I get to see him in June at Mastermind Summit. So I'm super stoked about that too. So shout out to Phil for getting me started on the podcast land, but I've since been on well over 100. I speak nationally, teach nationally, do all the things. So just being here with you guys, I feel really honored to have the opportunity to share my knowledge and just my expertise with all of you guys. And I see lots of Tennessee people up in the chat, so I love this. I love living in Tennessee. There's my Tennessee accent kind of coming out, right? I'm trying. Now, as far as work is concerned, right? I want this webinar to really be about prospecting on Instagram. So I want to faceplant right into this and just get right into the basics of what we need to be doing daily. So every single day, you guys have one job and one job only. And that job is to find a new relationship every single day. So if all you do every day is wake up and say, who can I connect to today on Instagram that I have not been connected to or don't already have a connection to, you will win, right? And what that means is very strategically understanding, what am I even looking at? Where should I be consuming content? Because how can I go from just a consumer to a connector, right? So a lot of us will just open Instagram and just kind of aimlessly scroll daily. And next thing you know, we're like, oh my gosh, I've been on Instagram for 2 hours. What am I doing? Right? So we want to go from a consumer to an actual connector. So we want to use that same time to make it an opportunity to actually connect. So that's what we're going to be learning specifically today is who should we be connecting to and ultimately how to structure that so that we can consistently and very effectively prospect on this platform daily. Now, I want you guys to, a lot of you guys have your phones out. I can see the 1990s coming in. So what I want to ask you guys to do is open up your phone. open up Instagram, go to somebody's account. And on you guys, most of you, well, you all should be mortgage professionals, right? But open up a realtor, for example, that you might know that you consume their Instagrams consistently, or maybe it's a loan officer that you're recruiting, for example, right? Just open a random Instagram account, but make it one that you can consume consistently. And what I want you to do is down here, I have a little screenshot of it, but when you look at someone's profile, you'll see following. Then in the middle, you'll see a message. And then next to that, you'll see this little person with a plus sign. I want you guys to comment in the chat box that you guys see that, depending on what Instagram you're looking at. So just let me know, yes, you're seeing that, or no, you're not. Awesome. Cool. So you guys are all finding the button. Amazing. Now this button just became your new best friend. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the way that this button works, what it essentially does is if you click on it, it will give you a drop down of all suggested accounts that Instagram is saying that based off of this connection, you might know this other person. And it's going to give you a big list. And the benefit of this is that in doing that, we can leverage connection. So Rob, you're looking at the screen here. Yes, yes, and yes to all of the questions. Yes, there will be a recording available at the end for sure. And then Rob, the question for what button again, if you're looking on the screen here, where the little arrow is pointing, this little person with the plus sign, that's what we're looking for. So it's in somebody's bio, no matter who you're looking at. So again, that button, when you click on it, it's going to give you a drop down of all kinds of people that Instagram is saying that based off of your connection to this person, you may know all of these people. So that is what's awesome about Instagram is it automatically pre-fills based off of where you are located and the types of connections that you already have. So it gives you the hyper-local aspect, and it also gives you the aspect of the 6 degrees of separation. So if you guys are familiar with the concept of the 6-degree theory, it means that every human on this planet to some extent is connected within 6 degrees. Yes, Michelle, that's exactly what it means. You nailed it. So the idea is that every human on this planet is connected within 6 degrees of separation. I also think that in my professional opinion, that in the last several years, I would even beg to say maybe the last decade, that number has gotten smaller. So I would guess it's more like 3 to 4 degrees of separation, and we can thank social media for a lot of that. Because ultimately, somebody's saying they can't see the screen. Can everybody see my screen? Yes. Okay. Not sure why, France. You might have to turn your video on. The button you guys are looking for is right here. It's this little person with a plus sign. So you'll see following message, and then depending on what you're looking for, you'll see contact next, or depending on what the account is you're looking at, I should say. You'll see contact, and then you'll see this little button, person with the plus sign, and that's what we're looking for. You're not supposed to look at that button on your own account, Tracy. You're looking at someone else's account, not your own account. So Stacy's saying that, yeah, you have to look at somebody else's account, not your own account, just for clarity. That's the only way you'll see that number. Good questions though. Guys, I'm gonna mute my chat box just for now and let Tiff answer all of that in the chat, just so I can keep us on time and keep us moving. Okay, so before we jump into the tracker and how all of this works tangibly, I want to get one thing real straight with you guys. So in 2023, we were challenged by Renee Rodriguez. All of you guys, I'm sure, know who Renee Rodriguez is, but we were challenged to document our success over the course of the entire year. So we did. We tracked every single outbound message that we sent on behalf of every client that we have in the year of 2023. And we logged over 98,000 messages between comments and DMs on behalf of the real estate agents and the loan officers that we support. This does not include any of our clients outside of the mortgage and real estate space. We only tracked specifically the realtor and the LO population. So we know that this works. We have tested it, we have retested it, and we have tracked every ounce of it. So we were really excited to be able to have this metric to be able to share with you guys and let you know what I'm teaching you and all of the rest of this information. This is not theory. This is not made up. This is not a hypothetical. This is fact. And we're really excited to be able to, we're really excited to be able to share this with you guys. So I hope that as we work alongside, or as you guys work alongside me here, you guys feel confident in being able to execute this. So there's 4 main reasons why I believe that all of your guys' connection when it comes to lead generation or active prospecting should be done on Instagram. These are the 4 main reasons. And then there is one ultimate sort of, think of the omnipresent, if you will. The number one most important reason is on the next screen. But these are the top 4 aside from that ultimate number one. And the first one is building familiarity. So we have a client, a really good friend of ours who when we were onboarding him, he made a comment. He said, I get bombarded on LinkedIn all the time by other mortgage professionals trying to either recruit me or real estate agents. And what I really want is I don't want to be that, right? I don't want to be that guy that's using LinkedIn to just kind of blow people up to recruit them. I want to be different. And he said, nobody's really messaging me on Instagram, except for I get some real spammy ones, but I can totally tell, I can sniff it out when it's not real. And so I challenged him to trust our process and be able to look at it from our perspective and say, hey, we're going to help you not be that guy. We're going to teach you how to be really authentic and super genuine. And in the process, build familiarity with the people that you're trying to recruit. So this particular LO that I'm talking about, he's actively trying to grow his company. His goal is to land up to 100 loan officers this year, or get his company up to 100, I should say. He has 40 currently. So we are utilizing the Instagram platform to be able to do this. And that's really the ultimate goal, right? For him is to be able to build familiarity with the people that he is trying to recruit before he then reaches out to recruit them. So that's the beautiful thing about Instagram, is through both personal interaction and personal consumption, right? We can consume, but really through personal interaction, it will lead to a lot less of a cold call feel, and it will definitely feel like more of a warm call between acquaintances. So I can tell you that it's been a long, long time since I have ever felt like I was on a cold call with someone, because 99% of my conversations that I have initiate through Instagram or private messenger on Facebook, right? And yes, LinkedIn is a third there, but I would definitely say Instagram is hands down number 1, Facebook is number 2, and then LinkedIn would be number 3. So being able to build the personal connection first before I talk to them on the phone is the key. And that's ultimately what this whole platform allows us to do. And then the second thing is competitive advantage. This is massive, right? In an industry where so many people, especially in the loan world, they're still relying on really traditional outreach methods. Community building on Instagram will help you stand out, right? If I get to go to your Instagram account and really feel like I know you and I feel connected to the personal pieces of who you are, in the business side adds credibility, and the business side continues to support the theory that I might have of you in here, then that's a win. That's a huge win, right? So again, the other piece is, while so many other loan officers or mortgage professionals might be traditionally outreaching, right? Cold calling, doing drop-ins, doing some lunch and learn type, offering small little classes within an office. Those are all great things, and they absolutely 1000% work. Lunch meetings, coffee dates, all the things, right? Those things absolutely work. But what we want to do is give you guys the competitive edge, or that sharp edge, that's going to not only help you stand out, but ultimately get you more of the face-to-faces and more of the opportunities to be able to actually talk to somebody on the phone that wants to be on the phone with you. So instead of just trying to get an appointment to get an appointment, we want you to get appointments that really, really want to be on the phone with you. And that's the magic of all of this. So that's number 2. Number 3 is it's incredibly cost effective, right? Instagram is 100% free. The only time you have to pay is if you choose to do ads, which I have been in business for almost 10 years, guys, and I do not do Instagram ads, and I own an Instagram company. So that just goes to tell you, you do not need to do them unless you want to or have the desire to go that route. But I personally have not chosen to do that in my career, with very rare exception, maybe a random webinar or a random event that I might promote, but I'll put like $20 behind it. So it's so minor. It's not a lot. And then the other thing for the Instagram platform is it really allows us to be super targeted and very personal with how we interact without any cost associated to that. We can do it 100% for free if we chose to. Whereas traditional marketing or traditional outbound campaigns typically cost a lot of money, right? Billboards cost a lot of money. Facebook ads cost a lot of money. Mailers cost, like all these things cost a lot with a very small return. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And ultimately why we love Instagram so much is because it affords us that. And then the last thing on this slide is, or the last of the four before we get to the big slide, I should say, is staying top of mind. Every real estate agent on the planet knows like at least 100 of you guys as loan officers, right? Between Instagram, between Facebook, LinkedIn, like just their own personal sphere, they could probably name 100 agents or be connected to 100 agents. So why are we going to choose you? That's ultimately the question that we have, right? Which is, how do you become the one that I choose? And that's where this comes. The time comes for being a really good referral client. Or when that time comes to be a good referral client, I should say, or to recruit, they have to consider their options. They've probably gotten several calls. They've probably had several meetings with several different companies. So what we want is psychologically to make sure that the association to us was positive and that they have that affirming familiarity, if you will, with us. They have the credibility. They know that they like us as a person. They know that they have connections or shared interests with us, and they see us all the time on Instagram. So we become a more natural option versus the person that just calls them all the time and leaves voicemails all the time, but they've never really spoken. That person's not going to beat that other person out, right? So we want to be the one that's staying really top of mind on social and really the one that is giving ourselves the best shot to be chosen ultimately. Now, the fifth and final biggest number one reason, the power of Instagram direct messages. This is the number one absolute most important reason as to why I say that every loan officer needs to be prospecting on the Instagram platform. Because what happens in our DMs, guys, is insane, right? We can have really intentional, direct one-to-one conversations that are very personal. We can get deep. We can be authentic. We can show up organically as ourselves. We can voice note, we can send video messages, we can do all the things. I was on another webinar today earlier and I had a ton of people that were messaging me and I just whipped my phone out and I was voice recording a message back to every single one of them because it was faster, first of all, versus typing it. And secondly, they get to hear my voice. They get to hear me saying, thanks so much for being here. I'm so glad that you're watching. And it was cool. It was really fun for me to be able to connect with all of them in that manner. I've sent lots and lots of video messages. I do it all the time. But the beautiful thing about direct messages is it dramatically decreases the time between initial interaction or the first piece of significant contact we might have with someone. And now we have somebody on the phone, right? So the distance between those two things is so much smaller. Whereas a lot of times when you're cold calling or you finally get someone on the phone, then you have to set the appointment, then you have to send a reminder, you have to do all these things, or you have to call them multiple times before they'll even say yes, which takes weeks and weeks, right? If you're doing your follow-up and trying to continue, and what if they don't even answer their phone, right? You have a higher chance of being able to get them in this manner. And then the other beautiful thing about direct messages, in my opinion, is it really allows us to just be authentic. We get to have personal conversations and make people like us before we even actually get to the ask. So before we even go, hey, Michelle, I think that the next best step for us would be to go have a coffee meeting. We're building a relationship. We're building a connection first, and then we go for the ask, right? So there's a big difference between a cold ask and a warm, hey, we really feel connected to one another, and then we're going to ask. Now, the other side of this that I haven't mentioned yet is our content, right? So what we do in our content is so important because in our private messages, we are going to be having conversations about life, right? Things that are just going on in our day-to-day. Like I just posted, my most recent piece of content was a picture of me and my son right before I started my half marathon, right? So if I'm having conversations with someone in my messages about running and they click on my profile and they go back to my page and they don't see anything about running anywhere, that bond is gone, right? That person is kind of like, well, Michelle said she was a runner, but I just went to her account. It's just like business, 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 right? So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're sharing personal content if we're going to be having personal conversations, because in doing our personal conversations, that person ideally is building this trust with us to the point where they then click on our profile. They're consuming our content. They're hopefully falling in love with us as people. And then the business content becomes a credibility builder and a trust builder, right? You guys have heard the like, know, and trust factor triangle. It's like constant. Everybody says that, right? but how do we actually build that in real life? This is what I'm talking about. And this is how, right? Posting personal content allows for the conversations in our DMs to be personal, and for when the bonds are developed, they can be sealed, if you will, with our content. So our content being personal, our conversations being personal, and then the rest of our business content around our personal content is the trust and the credibility that we need. But we have to nail, home run the like factor first. And that's what we're ultimately trying to get you guys to understand and do. So that's the power of direct messages. The other side to direct messages that I will say that I love is nobody ends up on the phone with me unless they are qualified to be on the phone with me, and vice versa. I don't end up on the phone with somebody, like if I'm prospecting them, I don't end up on the phone with someone that I don't think is actually a good fit for me to be prospecting. And so ultimately it allows us to be on the phone with people that we should be on the phone with, which leads to better conversion rates, all things related to our funnel. It's significantly better, right? We have a big top of funnel. And then we ultimately need to make sure that by the bottom of the funnel, the only people that end up on the phone are the right ones. And by qualifying them this way and building a relationship and then going for the ask, we've done all of that, right? So it's pretty powerful and pretty insane when you really think about it. Now, any Cindy Erman fans in the house? If you know Cindy, drop in the chat box. Let me know. Who doesn't love Cindy Erman, honestly? But do we have any Cindy Erman fans in the house? I love it. Love it. Amanda says yes. Kim says yes. David says, I have, what did Dave say? If I have over 1,000 past clients.
Don't worry about David's comment. He and I are catching some questions in there, so don't worry about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Daniel Thomas is asking who is Cindy Erman. Daniel, do yourself a favor and go look Cindy up. She is about as incredible as they come. But Cindy is one of the #1 female mortgage coaches in the country. She also was a former originator. Was one of the top female originators when she was originating in Southern California. She currently lives in Manhattan Beach. She is incredible. I will be at Mastermind Summit with her in June. She's asked me to be there with her, so I'm very excited. But if you don't know Cindy, go look her up. But she has also been a client of ours since last March, when I actually came out and spoke with her, or spoke for her at her MME event. So it was where we first officially met in real life, and it's been an amazing relationship since. But we sure love her. Now, what I want to share with you guys is the case study. So what we did before this presentation is we studied 3 of our top LO clients, and we literally just did the math over the year of 2023. So we actually calculated every message that we sent out on behalf of these 3 clients. Now, again, this is over the course of an entire year. So we're tracking our messages over the course of January 1 through the end of the year, but we actually stopped tracking around December 10th, vacation and Christmas, the holidays, all of that. So total number for across the board for these 3 clients in the year of 2023, we sent 8,544 messages. We got 1,762 responses. Of the 1,762, we went for the ask 540 times. And when I say we went for the ask, that means that we asked them on behalf of the loan officer that we were working with. We asked them for an appointment. We asked them for a phone call. We asked them if they wanted to get on Zoom. And we had 540 of those go out. 300 of our asks were responded to with a yes that resulted in an appointment. So across these 3 clients, 300 confirmed appointments over the year of 2023. So that is incredible. It's a really, really insane number when you do the math and you actually realize how incredible those conversion rates are as compared to traditional grassroots cold calling or grassroots marketing. So we're really stoked about the numbers. They were actually higher than we even thought that they would be, which is really cool. Now, this is a screenshot of an individual client that we had, one of the 3 that we were did our math on the previous slide. And this was a single email that we sent to her at the end of one of her months with us. So what we do in-house is we actually track every opportunity that is generated in the DMs on behalf of our clients. So in a single month, we had 13 people say yes to a call. And it was actually less than 30 days. So if you look at the numbers, it's 10-3 to 10-25. So that's way less than 30 days, right? That's 22 days to be exact. And then I actually put the 9/22 one in here when I was getting the screenshot of this. because Justin, on that single day, we had a lead come in for our client. That was the number for the broker of an entire office of 7 agents, who in the message, and I didn't put the screenshot in here, but in the message, she said, our office has actually been looking for a new primary lender. The broker would like to speak to you directly. We have 7 agents in our office. So that was that's what happened with one single message that we worked on, or one single account, excuse me, that we worked on building the relationship with before we went for the ask, and that was the result. And then from 10-3 to 10-25, you see she had 13 people say yes to jumping on a call with her that resulted in appointments. So this is just insane. And you have to ask yourself the question of, are you giving yourself the opportunity to even have the at-bat? Right? We all know that in sales, in order for us to generate more business, we have to have the at-bats to be able to do it. We have to have the connections that lead to conversation. Conversation leads to conversion. But if we don't have the connections and we're not having the conversations, we can't convert, just point blank, right? If you don't make your calls, you're not going to have anybody ever answer the phone. Just science, right? So that's how that worked. That's how that specific part worked. Now, there was several questions about this in the chat. But I'm trying to do myself a favor and not get too distracted by the chat with Tiff in there on my behalf. But I did see some questions where people were saying, you know, I have a big database. What do I do with that? Here's what you do. So who should you be messaging? And then I'm going to show you guys the tracker of what you actually do with them and how you structure it. So just hang in there with me until I get to that slide. It is the next one. So we'll talk about that. So the question then becomes, if you know you're supposed to be using Instagram to prospect, now take that to the next step and say, who am I supposed to be messaging in the first place? Where do I even start? And with loan officers, especially, we have found that this has been wildly successful because you guys have a much stronger direct to the person you need than a real estate agent does. Now, why? Right? On Instagram specifically, when we build this tracker out for our LOs, we have several categories that we focus on. First and foremost, our realtor partners. As LOs, you guys have realtor partners, both on the buy side, and you guys usually track the listing agents on the opposite side of a transaction so that you can start to market to them, right? So those lists are so powerful, right? So what we would essentially do is show you how to actually upload that list into a tracker and then find the Instagram accounts and then start prospecting those people directly through the Instagram platform. As far as what to say, I don't have time to get into that right now on this webinar, but I promised on our next one, if we have I think our next one's scheduled, but I don't remember when. On our next one, we will get that all dialed in as far as what to say, if you will. But you do and should be building or downloading, if you will, out of your database, your buyer agent side and your listing agent side so that you can prospect both of them on the Instagram platform. Now, the next thing, especially for those of you guys who are trying to recruit, your top 100 lists. So if you have your top 100 loan officers or LOs that you're trying to recruit, download that list and have it ready to rock. Make sure you know all of their Instagram accounts, all of their Facebook accounts, and you get to start prospecting them, right? Individually, direct one-to-one. In doing so, you're building personal connection first, familiarity, all the things we talked about, and then you get to go for the ask once you have them warmed up. The next thing is LinkedIn connections, right? LinkedIn is a huge platform for mortgage professionals. However, it is so freaking salesy. Can I get an amen for that from anyone? Like, is LinkedIn not really salesy more often than it's not? I have been on LinkedIn my entire career, and I have just got to tell you, the messages that come out of LinkedIn is just absolutely nuts. And I often ask myself, like, did this person read this before they sent this to me right now? It is wild, right? But when we use LinkedIn, the idea for what I teach is LinkedIn is an amazing platform for job promotion, posting that you have an open opportunity, posting videos and value about what you do. But really what we want LinkedIn to be is a hub to be able to take those connections and then connect with them on a personal level through the Instagram platform. So we want to make sure that all of the people that we're connected to on LinkedIn, we are also connected to on Instagram. Now, there is a way to do this. We also teach an email that will go out to your database once a month that will assist with this. But yes, you should be connected to everybody that you're connected to on LinkedIn on Instagram, because the purpose of the platforms are different, right? LinkedIn is more of the business board. Instagram is where we get to build the personal connection and then build our credibility secondarily to that, so that when we go for the ask, our personal connection and our credibility is one and the same, right? versus where sometimes it comes off way too businessy right out of the gate. And we don't want that. Next thing is podcast hosts. So any of you guys who are here who are thinking, you know, I want to be able to grow my business because, or I'm sorry, I want to be able to grow my business by getting on podcasts, right? Instagram is the perfect place for that, guys. I have been on over 100 podcasts myself personally, and I can tell you that how I have done that is by leveraging Instagram directly, right? Hey, looking up hashtag mortgage podcast, hashtag real estate podcast, hashtag realtor podcast, hashtag mortgage marketing, all the things related that could get me to a podcast. And then guess what? Do I know one of the hosts? Do I know one of the guests that was on one of the podcasts? When I landed Phil Treadwell's podcast very way back in 2019, that created a lot of momentum for me. People heard me on Phil's podcast, and I was able to say, yeah, I was just on Mortgage Marketing Expert. Fast forward from July of 2019 to today. I don't even know the exact number because it's over 100, and I stopped actually tracking it. But it's been amazing, right? The mortgage podcast, the real estate podcast, all of it is so easy when you focus on, if that's my goal, how can I go scale that? How can I go leverage connection in order to land more opportunities that can give me more opportunity to have more voice? And then the last one being speaking opportunities. I can't tell you how many webinars I've landed off of it, how many stage opportunities I've gotten. I got to speak for a really big mortgage company last September, and just being in their room with their top 50 loan officers within their company. Like, I walked into the room and more people knew me than I even expected. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Michelle's here. And I was like, I have no idea who you are. And I felt bad, but at the same time, that's the power of the platform, right? Is by being present and by being really authentic, if you will, and maybe too authentic sometimes. It created the feeling where people consume me on social and they really feel like they know me before they even meet me in real life. And that's so important to me. And that's important to my brand, right? That's who we are at Berman Media PD, and really who we want me to be represented as. So by being able to leverage Instagram as an opportunity to create these types of connections, I've landed countless speaking opportunities and counting. So these are the people who you should be messaging consistently. Now, how? And then also down here at the bottom, please make note of what I said. Don't worry about what to say yet, because I will teach you that. But as far as who should you be messaging, we talked about that on the previous slide. And then now on this slide, what I want to show you guys is how this tracker ends up getting built. So this is a very sample one that we use for all of our clients. We actually build them custom. So your days would look a little bit different. You might have 2 weeks. You might have 3 weeks. It just depends on the client. But we would break out each one of your days of the week into different categories, and then we would go execute within those different categories throughout the day. Now, if you build this tracker on your own, same concept. You guys can absolutely do that. And yes, I am going to give you guys the opportunity to download the tracker. I'm also going to give you an opportunity to have me help you build the tracker. So just hang in there with me, and I'll share with you guys what we're doing for NAM because of my relationship with Valerie and our partnership with NAM now as of the new year. But for example, on Mondays, you would be focusing on following day. So what this means is, instead of focusing on the people that you already are following, meaning the people that you're probably consuming consistently on Instagram, when you open the platform, right? If you guys have ever noticed that you seem to always be responding to the same people or always commenting on the same people's content, that's what we want to avoid when we're trying to actively prospect. We're not saying don't do that. We're saying that when we're focused on active prospecting time, that those people are not the people that we're focused on in this time. So I spend an hour a day, usually less, on prospecting because I can do it really fast. And again, I hyper focus on one new relationship a day versus as many as possible. So I try to make sure that I'm more focused. But when I work with my private coaching clients, or when I work with any of our VIP clients, I tell them an hour a day. Your job is an hour a day, and it might not even take you that long. And working in the individual categories throughout each day makes it so you can do this super, super quickly. So on Mondays, we focus on following day, which means that we're interacting with the people that are already following us, right? So if you remember at the very beginning of the conversation, I said that we always feel like we need more all the time, and that's sort of becoming a big problem. We don't need more followers. What you do need is you need to be connecting to the ones that you already have, right? So if you look at your Instagram and you see that you have, call it 500 followers, how many of those 500 do you even know, right? How many of those 500 followers have you ever had a conversation with? And that's what we're talking about here, right? Is we don't know all of the people that have taken the time to start consuming our content. So we need to make sure that we love on them. So this becomes a retention opportunity. This becomes a, hey, I know that you've been following me and I want to make sure that I'm showing up for you. We obviously don't say, hey, thanks for following me. Definitely never send a message like that. Also, turn off your auto messages. If any of you guys have auto repliers on, turn them off, right? We do not ever want to receive an auto kickback message when we are trying to authentically send a message to you, because it is not good, right? Have you guys ever gotten an auto reply from someone where it's like, thanks so much for messaging me for all your real estate or mortgage needs. Here's my cell phone number. Feel free to call me. And like, you just took the time to send a really nice message and that was the message you got back. I got one this morning actually, because I had another webinar, and I sent the lady a message because she had sent me a voice note. And I actually, I just lost my train of thought, but when I sent that message to her, she actually kicked back it with, if you need to buy or sell, here's my cell phone number. Anthony says, I can't help it. I don't know how to turn it off. Anthony, we will help you. And Tracy, that is not an auto message. I personally wrote that message, very different. Now Tuesdays, let's focus on top 100 recruits, for example, right? If you put all of the top 100 names of the people that you are actively trying to connect with on Tuesday, your only focus is to execute as many DMs or start conversations with those people that day as possible, right? So you would maybe find 40 or 45 of them for that one day, go to their account, go to their account, excuse me, do they have a new piece of content up? Do they have a new story up? And then you respond to that. Please help with turning it off. Kim, we absolutely will. If you guys need help with turning off your auto responders, Tiffany, can you actually drop your Instagram handle in the chat box? So guys, Tiffany is my queen of all things automations, all things internally, operationally. All of my messages and all of the structure of how we do our emails and the whole operation side of my whole world is Tiff. So she will for sure help you. So if you guys need help directly with turning off your auto responders or using any other software like that related to it, please ask Tiff. She can certainly help you. That's her love language, if you will. So on Tuesdays, again, we're focusing on top 100 recruits. Wednesdays could be LinkedIn day, which means you're going to go find as many of the people that you're connected to on LinkedIn, make sure you're connected to them on Instagram, open up their accounts, look at their most recent piece of content, look at their most recent story, leave a genuine comment, leave a genuine story reply, and start conversations. Thursdays could be listing agent side. So you'll upload the list of all of your listing agents that you're trying to earn their business on their buy sides from, and just start interacting with them. Again, as far as what to say, I just don't have time to get into that today. But hopefully we'll have an opportunity to do that again on our next one. And then again, this is just a sample one. So every single client, whether that's you doing it yourself or whether that's us helping you, this gets customized, right? So a lot of our clients, I will say most of them end up with 2 weeks, which means that on week 2, if we duplicate this on week 2, Mondays would stay the same. Wednesdays would probably stay the same, but Tuesdays and Thursdays would change, right? So we might change it Tuesdays to, let's see, podcast opportunities, or we might change it to all of our top 50 like current active real estate partners, already partners, right? So we might focus on people that we're already partnered with to make sure that we're staying top of mind with, so that we don't lose them. We want to retain them. And then obviously we can customize days. We have some who specifically want to work on Facebook on one day, so we could add that as a day. We have lots of different YouTube days, all kinds of things that we have depending on the client. We have lots of LOs actually that have their own podcasts. So we also work on generating them podcast opportunities as well. So lots of opportunities, again, customized tracker. No two trackers really are ever the same, especially if you're recruiting in other states, especially if you can lend in multiple states, that conversation changes as well. So we have a loan officer, for example, who is based out of Washington State, but she does more loans in Florida than she actually does in her home state because she spends more than half the year in Florida. So we actually had split her tracker where 1 week we focus on Washington, 1 week we focus on Florida. So again, every client is different. It's just a matter of what is your ultimate goal and how can we help you get there. So that's how the tracker is ultimately built. Now, I want you guys to see this, and then I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to go ahead and download the tracker, or to get the opportunity to get the tracker, I should say. But I want you guys to check this out. So if you remember those 3 clients that we studied over the course of the entire year of 2023, we broke down the Instagram math. So again, if you're familiar with Rene Rodriguez, he has a sales math document or a numbers document that he shares regularly for his clients and his coaching students. He worked with us directly on building ours. So we have studied all of our clients for this particular case study, those 3 that I mentioned, and we actually broke each one down to a dollar figure. So we knew exactly how much that very first initial message ended up being worth for all of those 300 opportunities that we generated for the client. So, or clients, plural. Too much negativity on where. Yeah. Building relationships. Absolutely. Thank you, Tony, for that. That was really nice. We have way too much negativity in life, right? We don't need to add it to our business. So I appreciate that comment so much. So 300 opportunities, if you remember from the 3 clients that I was telling you, we followed over 2023. Those 300 we translated into approximately 60 loans. We broke that down. We timed 60 loans by 200,000 as the average price point. That equates to a total of 12 million in volume. Those 60 loans at 3,000 in each based off the average commissions is about 180 grand in commission. And every message, therefore, that initial very first message we sent out would be worth $21. The second one would be worth every response, excuse me. So when we send that initial message, every response to that initial message bumped that dollar amount up to $102 that initial message would be worth. And then every opportunity out of that initial response, every opportunity we generated after that would break down to $600 per ask. Right? Meaning every person we went for the ask that said yes, that basically translated that message into $600. So every outbound message you send, when done properly, keyword asterisk, right? Don't go start sending a bunch of messages and then messaging me saying, hey, it's not working, right? There's a structure to the message of how we need to do this to make it so that it's super effective. And in doing so, if done properly, every outbound prospecting message, if done correctly, is worth $21. That is wild. Right? If you guys would do 40 messages in an hour, 40 times 21, someone do that math, but I would work for that, right? I would do that level of prospecting that intentionally to make sure that I'm making that much per hour on top of all of the money that would come out of that. So really, really powerful stuff when it's done properly for sure. Now, difference in conversation. So when I'm talking about the types of conversations that we should be having and how these messages are structured, there is a vast difference between the result when done correctly. So this side, the left, was a conversation that ended really abruptly. So the initial comment was, it looks like it was a successful event. Was it a home buyer education class? Then the other person responded, which is awesome, right? This individual got a response. And then our reply was, sounds like it was an or this person's response, I should say, I'm sorry. Sounds like it was an informative event. Great. Thanks for asking. And then conversation died, right? So what happened here? What do you guys think happened on this side? Why do you think this conversation didn't continue? Drop it in the chat if you guys think. What do you guys think? Why this conversation on the left here didn't continue? Sarah got it. Perfect. First one, no follow-up, no additional questions, ended in or closed-ended question, no follow on the question. Perfect. Love it. France, you're going to have to relax. Chill. I'm so sorry, but I'm not quite done yet. Ended the conversation with thanks for asking. Absolutely, Doreen, you're spot on. Thank you guys for that. Awesome interaction, or awesome replies there. And that's the truth, right? It ended in a sort of closed-ended question, or I'm sorry, a closed-ended statement versus a question. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, this was vastly different, right? So by not only having a more intentional message, being a little bit more vulnerable in our response, we got a way better response. So the left was actually done by the client before they became our client, right? And then the right was done by us internally on behalf of the client. And this ultimately resulted in an appointment for our client, right? So massive, massive difference, not only in the reply rate, but in also the length of the replies and the length of the conversation in totality from when we initially messaged to when we ultimately got them on a call. Way better conversion rate, way longer conversations, all the good things that we were looking for is ultimately what happened. So again, reminder, the power is in direct messages, how we initiate them, how we send them, all of that, right? So we have to understand that if we're not doing it, we can't see the results in the first place. So again, don't start sending messages and then wonder why it's not working, right? We have to make sure they're done correctly. Perfect. How are we sending messages in my voice and not yours? Amazing question, Michelle, and I can totally answer that here shortly when we go into Q&A. I love that question though, so hang on to that. Now, if you guys want me to actually help you build the tracker, I would really love to be able to do that. It's my favorite thing. I love the tracker. It's awesome. And I really like seeing your guys' light bulbs go off. So the opportunity that you guys have here now is for only the first 20 people, because this is 20 hours of my time that I am offering. Please DM me the word grow. We will give you guys the opportunity to jump on an hour private session with me. And I will build this tracker with you alongside. We will talk about your structure specifically. Guys, Brent and Jeremy, you're going to have to message me on Instagram the word grow in order to be that person on one of these 20 people, not here in the chat. So just transition that to Instagram and then I got you. Alicia Thomas, guys, do it on Instagram, please, not on the chat box, because that way I can get back to you with my message. So again, I'm going to go back to what this is as far as how this structure works. But if you guys can DM me the word grow, or if you want to be one of the 20 that I actually build the tracker for, please DM me the word grow on Instagram, and I promise I will get back to you super fast. Tiffany is also already in my DMs right now answering you guys as it's happening. So she is in there working with me on my behalf. Now, Michelle, I want to answer your question quickly. So how are we sending messages in your voice and not ours? Amazing question. So what we do is we actually, when we work with a client, we onboard them and we actually have them fill out 2 different surveys. We spend about 90 minutes getting to know you personally. So we spend a lot of time with you directly, right? Answering and asking questions, things like, what phrases do you use? Do you like coffee or tea? Like things that are so simple that you might overlook. We ask you all of these questions in depth. We also ask you for the top 10 statements or questions that you might ask a realtor or a vendor partner that you're trying to work with, or a recruit that you're trying to recruit. We ask for those phrases. And we have lots of clients who use certain phrases and don't use certain words and all sorts of different things. So long story short is we just spend a lot of time with you. And then before we officially go live, when we start engaging on your behalf, is we actually do mock engagements. So we have an entire day where we do a bunch of mock engagements. We track them. We then send them back to you and give you the opportunity to actually confirm that they look good and they sound correct. And then once that's approved, we then officially go live. And the beautiful thing about the way that we do this process is it's done by us here in the States. So we do not use non-stateside individuals for this, because there's just been language barrier issues and all kinds of other things. So we decided against that in my profession and in my company. Again, for W. Bays and Daryl Arnold, please DM me the word grow on Instagram in order for you guys to have the opportunity to do this with me or to have me help you build this tracker. But Michelle, I hope that answered your question at least briefly, but long story short, we just spent a ton of time with you one-to-one. And it's super important to us that we nail your voice before we officially go live. So if we have to do multiple days of mock engagements, we will, for sure. Awesome. Okay, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. And I am going to go ahead and open up the opportunity for you guys to ask any questions that you might have. So does anybody have any questions for me in the chat box that they can or would like for me to answer while I still have you? I have about 2 minutes before I have to jump off, but I do want to make sure that I can answer any questions for you guys before I jump. So feel free to drop them anywhere. I'm going to open up the Q&A box. You guys saying thanks so much, really good content, awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. Is there a way you guys can have AI do most of your content? We do not use AI for our content itself at all. I am not a fan of AI generated caption writing or generated presentations or any of that. But there is a way for you guys to help automate some of your messaging, but it is still designed to be written directly by you. So that's a yes and a no at the same time. Do you have social media? Do you have a social media how-to library? Yes, Doreen, we absolutely do. We teach the whole thing from 101 all the way through super, super high level. So I would love to be able to support you guys there. Chad says, thank you for your time. You rock. Chad, you rock. I appreciate you saying that. I'll be here on Instagram if you guys have questions. Is there a replay available? Yes, the recording will go out. Is there a cost for your assistance? Yes, we are doing it. However, 50% off for everybody through our relationship with NAM. So the 1 hour private session you guys will have the opportunity to get is 50% off for you guys. So yes to that. Hopefully answering that. Matt says very interesting content. Thank you. I appreciate that, Matt. Interesting is good. All right, guys, I am going to jump. I actually have another call that I need to jump on. So I super appreciate you guys. Michelle says, are you doing another session where we can get into what email should be sent out? Michelle, yes, we have lots of webinars planned with NAM. So you guys will just have to keep your eyes on when the next one is. And the answer to that is yes. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate your time. Where can you find me on YouTube? Just type in Michelle Berman Michael and it will be there. You guys will see my entire channel. Michelle, you're fantastic. Elizabeth, thank you. I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate all of your guys' help and time. Thanks, guys. See you soon.